All right, so Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by saying Barakatham, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, the Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000, Shalom. All right, so, Lord willing, right, the title of this lesson will be, matter of fact, I'm going to go to the precept real fast because it's a quote from a precept. I want to read, right? Right. So this is Jeremiah 31, and I started verse 31. This comes from the spirit, probably how about how shot. I was watching the brothers. One of the brothers sent us a video of them watching the older camp we did, and one of the brothers brought his precept, Lord willing, right, and it hit me in the spirit, right, to go into it, right. So let's go into it real fast, right. It says Jeremiah 31:31. It says, "Behold, the days come," said the Lord Yahweh, "that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." Right. So Romans 9:40 tell you, right, what? Who are the Israelites? Mainly paraphrasing, right? Only receive the promises, the adoption, the covenants with an S, because the first covenant, let's continue reading, right? When it says house of Israel and house of Judah, that means, the northern kingdom and southern kingdom, right? Northern kingdom, Ephraim on down, you have the southern kingdom with Judah, Benjamin, Levi, right? They're going to be brought back together, right? Amos 9 and 11, the tabernacle of David, the breaches thereof are fixed, mainly paraphrasing. So in that category what the scripture is talking about, right? How about is going to fix the breaches thereof? The breaches is the kingdom splitting. All right, both kingdoms are going to be brought back together, right? We're going to be one nation, right? It ain't going to be no more northern kingdom, southern kingdom. It's going to be one nation. The Hebrews, like Ezekiel 37 talks about that when they go into the valley of dry bones. That's why it's a commandment for us when we on the highways and byways to have the the sign out there, because the elders were just talking about going to not one of the lessons Elder Apostle Rumblai posted, wasn't necessarily going to tour, but they was mentioning how, these camps they be going off, they really be black. He was like where was they at when all these people was going, when Trump was going at the Northern Kingdom, whatnot, with the ICE and things as such, right? A lot of people do be black Hebrew Israelites, but we're not black Hebrew Israelites. We're Hebrew Israelites, right? A nation like unto a speckled bird, right? You have the Northern Kingdom and you have the Southern Kingdom, which is all going to be brought back together, but willing through the Spirit, probably how about Shah, right? But let's continue. I made with their fathers in that day. I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Right? And why I want to go into this, because I remember a while ago, let's go here. I'm going to turn my phone, because let's go to the Blue Letter Bible, right? Let's go into a definition, right? It was a little controversy for Lord William already in right? It's been a little controversy, I guess you could say, right? With Genesis, he's gonna be saved. Things say, no other nation will be saved. Yahweh Shah was sent because, right? Let me turn it off until we need it. Let's go back here real fast. Hebrews. Yahweh Shah was sent because why? Right? Our nation, right, as a people, right? We went off. So Yahweh Shah, he was done with us, right? He was done with our people. So Yahweh Shah came, and adopted us back in, brought us back to that fold of Yahweh Shah through his grace, through his sacrifice, right? Real quick, Hebrews 7, and I get straight to the point. In verse 27, it says, "Who needeth not daily as those high priests," right? It's talking about Yahweh Shah, because in our nation, right, you had the high priest who would sacrifice for their sins and then sacrifice for the people's sins. But Yahweh Shah, as we're going to read, says, "Who needed not daily as a high priest to offer up sacrifice first for his own sin and then for his people. For this he did once." So Yahweh Shah, he laid down himself once for our whole nation to bring us back to that fold, right? That's why you have those ones grafted in, right, through Yahweh Shah, because through Yahweh Shah, we're not in bondage unto sin anymore, right? We're not judged by the laws and commandments. You know what I mean? We can do what we want. It's me and Yahweh Shah, he can't lay down for us, because why? He understood that we couldn't keep the laws and commandments perfect in these imperfect bodies, right? We couldn't keep perfect. We couldn't keep laws and commandments perfect in these imperfect bodies. We were going to go off. We were made to go off, right? We were made to go off. Romans 8, real fast. Let's go Romans 8 and 20, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Khan. It says, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by the reason of him who has subject in the same and hope, right? So, we were made to go off. We were subject to vanity. Yahweh Shai knew we would go off, right? Beginning with Adam, but we understand Adam and Yahweh same spirit. Romans 5 talks about, the same one who brought sin, the same one who's gonna bring righteousness, right? Because Yahweh Shai Adam, if you receive it, that same spirit. But understanding, Yahweh Shai knew that we were going to go off. That's what Paul talks about in Romans 7, right? Let's see. It gets straight to the point. Right here. Romans 7, I started at verse 14. It says, for we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold unto sin. Right? We're sold in these fleshly bodies. We're sold unto sin. We in bondage unto sin, man. Right? We in bondage. Well, it's like we in bondage unto corruption, as I meant to say. Right? We're bondage unto corruption. Right? Because we in these corruptible bodies. Right? It says, for that which I do, I allow not. Right? It says, for what I would that I do not, but I hate that I do. It's like but what I hate that do I. Meaning what? He don't want to sin. He don't want to go off, but the flesh is in us that has us to go off. You have the daily battle, spirit versus the flesh, that has us to sin. Because you got even think about this. Not saying this ain't brothers out here just wild and doing whatever. No, right? Still striving to push for their righteousness, but things of such that we can't. A lot of these things are out of our control. If you really think about it, that's not even an animal that dive itself. We don't know what serves in these markets. Right, we can't keep. We keep them, but it's certain things that we can't do because why? We're in this wicked kingdom. We're not in our homeland, right? We're not in our homeland, so there's certain things we can't do, right? There's certain things we can't. It's certain things that that has us in certain positions that we can't control because we in this bondage or we in this corruption, right? It says verse 16, I'll read verse 15 again. It says, for that which I do, I allow not. I don't want to go off, but I do go off because why? In this kingdom, we were brought up wrong. In this kingdom, we were brought up the whole wrong way. This wicked kingdom that we're in. So therefore, now we have to grow into a spiritual man, and now we have to fight off that lust, that flesh, that worldly mindset. Now we got to push it off. We got to get rid of it, right? That's why we got to die daily. We got to die daily to this world. Right, each and every day we gotta fight and crucify this fleshly mindset off of us, because that's why the script say when you come to the Lord you gotta prepare yourself for temptation, because there's going to be temptations to that try to pull you away. Right, you got the physical sons and you got the physical sons and daughters of Satan who are out here trying to trick you, deceive you. Right, you have the spiritual demon, Satan, spiritual demon of doubt, who try to get into your mind and things of that such. But you gotta fight, and that's why Yahweh Shai came. He came and showed us that you can overcome that. He came and showed us that we can do that, right? And he laid down for us and showed us that righteous path, showed us that perfect way, which we're on that path to that perfect way, which we're going to receive in the kingdom, which we're going to get to when we go back to Jeremiah 31, right? It says, Romans 7 says, if I then do that which I would not, if I sin, I don't want to sin, I consent to the law that is good. Because we understand you got a lot of jick out here who don't even know they're going off, because they so caught up in it. They in love with the free will spirit. They in love with the thing they can do whatever they want to do, right? As long as they hide, think people don't see it, right? It says, now then it is no more that I do it, but sin that goes in me, because we have that. We in this corrupted body. We in this flesh. Flesh lusts against us. Flesh lusts against the spirit. Spirit versus the spirit versus the flesh. Flesh versus spirit, man. And we walking in that spirit. That's why you gotta move in the spirit, right? Let's see. Verse 18 says, for I know that in me, that is my flesh, doeth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which good I find not. Right? It says, for the good that I would do, I do not. But the evil which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that I would not, right? Well, so you say, this the point right here. It is no more that I do it, but sin that goes in me, right? So how about Yahweh Shai knew, right? It says, that he knew that, we couldn't keep laws perfect. He knew that we would go off. That's what Paul's talking about. I got things that I do that I don't want to do, right? In this corruption, right? So continue reading on. It says, I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. You got to understand, What is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. So each time we do these things we don't want to do or go against the law, guess what? That brings forth death, right? So therefore, we're subject to vanity. We're subject to corruption. We under this corruption, right? So we had to be changed, and part of that changing, we got to go through a process, and we gonna put it like that. Yahweh Shah got to see with us knowing the good way and the wrong way, who gonna choose that narrow passage? Because on that narrow passage, you're gonna have to fight off that lust. You're gonna have to fight off that pleasure of yourself. You're gonna have to fight off that trying to party. You're gonna have to fight off all the desires of this world that everybody professed in front of your faith that quote unquote we were supposed to have. We're not. As mentioned again, the lesson I was just watching with the elder Apostle Rumlai, you know, he said, I think it's titled "The End Is Evident," and it was, you know, a bunch of elders in there. So like I try to get the elders' names, you know, or whatnot. When I mentioned lesson, when I'm watching lesson, you know, to give them their props or whatnot. But understanding, you know, they were talking about how, you know, these people want glory in the world, things and such, but Yahweh Shai ain't even got his glory in the world yet. And when he comes, and their Lord, he's going to be glorified then. And right now, we're magnifying it, you know, that's what the first oracles are. Giving honor glory to Yahweh Shai. Let them know that he's the one and only. Because you got Jake out here who trying to profess. You got Esau out here who trying to gain it. You got Jake out here who trying to gain it. Right, trying to gain all these glory things of the world. That's why Yahweh said that's why Paul said in 1 Corinthians, they trying to attain a corruptible crown. We trying to attain an uncorruptible crown. Right? Because and they all that clout, all that things that say it's gonna be destroyed when Yahweh Shah come. Right? But this right here, verse 22, right? It says, I delight in the law of Yahweh after the inward man. What's the inward man? The spirit. So we gotta move to the spirit, right? Understanding that when we broke that in Jeremiah 31 or Jeremiah 31:32, it said that covenant that we broke, right? So who's that variance, right? Who's that variance with Yahweh Shah? You know, let's go to this. Let's see. Bear with me. All right. This is 2 Corinthians 5 verse 18 says that all things are of Yahweh, who hath reconciled us to himself by Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, and have given to us the ministry of reconciliation. Right, let's go into that word. Right, let's turn this on. Let's see if it come on yet. All right, there we go. Let's go into this word reconciliation. Right, it's looking for notifications. Right, let's see.
Strong's G 2644, Catalasso.
I can't hear it. It's lower. Let me see.
Strong's G 2644, Catalasso.
Okay, catalasso. Right, it's like I'm in the car, so there's the heat playing in the background. But it says to change, exchange as coins for others or equivalent, right? It says to reconcile those who are at variance, right? Let's go into the word variance, right? Look up, let's see what the word variance says, right? Let's see what we get right here. Nah, that's definitely ain't what we mean. Right here, right? In the Bible, variance from the Greek, right? It says, means intense disagreement, strife, dissension, or bitter contention. So we was at an intense disagreement with Yahweh Shah, right? But he had to reconcile us back in because why? Because we broke the first covenant. We broke that first covenant it was talking about. The first covenant that was broke, right? So therefore, there had to be a new covenant made, and when Yahweh Shah came, he reconciled us, brought us back in. So now we're in that spiritual battle. Right now we're in that spiritual battle of seeing who's gonna stay focused on that narrow passage, right? Let's go to Matthew 7 in verse 13. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate, right? S-A-R-T, you know, not straight as in like straight line, straight, right? Let's see. Being difficult, I'm not mistaken. We'll search it up though. Let's see. Yeah, look, channel a bad, difficult situation, right? Matter of fact, I like the definition that just said right there beneath it. A narrow passage of water connecting two seas, right? Verse 2, used in a reference to a situation characterized by specified degree of trouble or difficulty, right? So entering at the straight gate, difficult, right? For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, difficult, hard. You gotta think like how Yahushua had it. They wanted to persecute him, they wanted to kill him, they hated Yahushua. Right? They was coming up against him in all type of ways. They instead of locking up a person who was in there for really, I think Barbarians was in there for murder, not mistaken, they take Yahushua. Right? They wanted to persecute Yahushua. They hated Yahushua. They treated him bad. Right? So what you think? You think we not gonna go through these straight and vain things? Right? And then part of that as well is what? That putting off this world. The bitter and the sweet, cutting off family, getting out of the way of this world, doing things of Yahweh Shah, not accustomed to this world. So it's gonna be harder, It's gonna be harder for us it's harder on us, but it's supposed to be like that. That's that fiery trial that we're facing, right? It says because straight is the gate and narrow is the way, which leads into life, and free to be there found. Because you got to think, a lot of people they be on this passage for a little bit, but as soon as it get a little hard, they want to get the party, they want to get doing all these things, they want to get having the glorious good lifestyle in this world. They start losing their way. They start losing it because that broad gate is easy. It's easy to go through that gate. Many go through that gate. It's easy to go that way, right? So boom, get back to it, right? But understanding, right? So we was at that variance. Right? We was at that variance. So Yahweh Shah set up this straight and narrow passage to see who would stay focused on it. Right? Because and those are going to be the ones who what? Inherit the, let's see. Those are going to be the ones who the older hairs, those joint hairs with Yahweh Shah. Because they ain't going to do that suffering and that pain. Right? But we understand that disagreement we was at, the first ones who are going to receive that changing, which we're going to get to that second covenant. Right? Let's bring this out real fast. Right? 1 Corinthians 15. Right, I just want to bring out we were not all asleep, right? But right here, right? 1 Corinthians 51, it's like 15 and 51 says, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep. We shall be changed." Right? Meaning what? We shall not all die. We're going to be changed to spiritual bodies. Because that first covenant we had with that corruption, right? That disagreement we broke, Yahweh Shah knew we couldn't keep it, right? Let's see. Let's go to Hebrews. Shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offer year by year, continually become there unto perfect. Keep a perfect law in imperfect body, but we can't because his body, we in corruption. So guess what we got to do? We got to inherit incorruption, right? We got to be made incorruptible. Right, we got to get out these bodies. We got to be changed, and that's what that second covenant was. When he came to sacrifice, that's the only thing that happened. To say we're not in the second covenant yet, right? But that's when we're going to see that perfection in that second covenant. And the elect are the ones who are doing that pain, that suffering, who stand focused on the narrow passage, right, during this patient process to receive that we should not all sleep. They're gonna overcome death, right? Let's go back to 1 Corinthians, right? 15 real fast. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 51 again, right? Verse 52, it says, "In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the trumpet shall sound, the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, this mortal must put on immorality." Because we understand what? It ain't gonna be no more sin. So it ain't gonna be no more decaying. Our bodies we ain't gonna die, right? Because it ain't gonna be no more sin, man. We're gonna be made incorruptible. We're gonna be made perfect, right? As you read, right, it says, so when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying, it is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? Right? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But guess for what? We're not judged by the laws and commandments, right? And in the kingdom, guess what? The laws and commandments are written in our hearts and minds, right? So therefore, we got a chance to overcome. We got a chance to overcome death through Yahweh Shah. Because Yahweh Shah came, and that's why that second covenant, the first one we broke, but the second covenant, we're going to be changed to spiritual bodies, man. Let's read this real fast before we go back to Jeremiah, right? Hebrews 9 and let's see. Hebrews 9, I'm starting at verse 12, right? Yeah, it said, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. Because we understand the high priest will be the one who go into the temple, high priest, we want to go to the temple, sacrifice for their sin, sacrifice for the people. But Yahushua, which is, you know, Yahushua was the figure that Yahushua is that figure that was to come. Right? Understanding we're that spiritual temple now, but Yahushua is that temple. He sacrificed for us. He laid down for us. Right? It says, for if the blood of bulls and of goats, it said, for the blood of bulls and the blood of goats, it's like the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean, sanctified to the numbering of the flesh, how much more so the blood of Hamashiach Yahushua, who through the eternal spirit offered himself up without spot to Yahweh, purge your conscience from dead works and serve living power. Because you understand, we're not judged by the law no more. So therefore, now you should be staying focused on what? On this straight and narrow passage. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be things trying to pull you away. But all we got to do is stay focused on the will of Yahweh Yahushua, to do what he set for us to do. Right? Get out this world. Do the work. Prophesy the downfall of this kingdom and give a warning to the nation of Israel. That's what he said for us to do. And the first oracles, right? Teaching the true names of Yahweh Yahushua, right? Giving him honor and glory. Everything we do, we give honor and glory to Yahweh Yahushua, man. Because he in control of all this. You know, as the elder was saying earlier, he called us to be his servants, right? So, you know, he in control of this. He called us to be, we blessed to be on the good side of the movie, man. Right? It says, as for this, he is the mediator of the New Testament, the new covenant, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, the first one we broke, right? We broke it, right? So we were cooked, we were cooked, but through Yahushua, we've been brought back in. So now we got a chance to overcome and fix that variance that, you know, the covenant which we broke. We got a chance to fix it through what? The second covenant. Right? It says, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. Who are called? The elect. As I mentioned earlier, the elect gonna be the first one who receive that, you know, that first resurrection, man. They're gonna be as we being woke now, right? And the Lord willing, in the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shah, right? Lord willing, the elect with that number, that 144,000, they're gonna be beaten up to the chariot, and they're gonna be changed to spiritual bodies, man. They're gonna be changed to spiritual bodies. Right? No more death. Laws committed written in their hearts and minds. And they're going to be the ones who establish that standard in the kingdom, that first dominion. They're going to establish that standard in the kingdom. Going to let everybody know, right? We ain't going to have to teach our neighbor. We're going to have to teach our brother. All these other nations, we're going to let them know, hey, everybody going to follow laws committed. Isaiah 2 talks about it. They're going to cleave it to the house of Jacob. We got to do it. They're going to have to learn the ways of Yahweh Yahushua, man. Right? So let's go back to Jeremiah 31, right? Jeremiah 31. And read verse, all right, we at verse 32 again on down. It says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. First one we broke, right? The sacrifice for sins. So we sacrificed lamb, sheep, goat, things that satisfy sin. But Hebrews 10, as we read, those sacrifices couldn't make us perfect, right? We were still going off. We still had the remembrance of sin upon us. We were still going off. Jake was a hypocrite, right? Jake was bugged out, right? It says, that I made with their fathers in the day I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, says the Lord Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord Yahweh. I'll put my laws in their inward parts and write in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, says the Lord Yahweh. For I'll forgive their iniquity, and I'll remember their sins no more. So we're going to be changed to spiritual bodies, right? And we're going to be no more sin. We're going to be no more death, right? Going to be no more decaying. Yahushua, you know, Yahushua redeemed us of that. He brought us back in, right? He reconciled us. He fixed the variance that we was at, right? He fixed it for us, right? And brought us back in, you know? And through him, right? And that's why he told us the servant is not greater than his Lord. And through him, we're going to face these sufferings. Through him, we're going to face these sufferings. We're going to face these pains. We're going to face these hardships. We're going to face these sufferings, right? You know, but guess what? The Spirit of Yahweh Yahushua is going to help us overcome them. Because guess who showed us that we can overcome it? Yahushua. He already showed us that righteous way. He already showed us how to overcome that narrow passage, man. He showed us how to do it. So now we got to keep faith in him and striving to the end, right? Got a precept, right? Can't lose your way, man. Proverbs 5 and 6, right? It says, trust in the Lord Yahweh with all thine heart. Lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths, man. Right? So, no, Lord willing, right? No, the lesson was edifying and exhausting, right? So I can turn that radio down. No, and I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, or Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the whole elect, start with the 144,000. Shalom.